All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more, presented by Imperial Pizza. I am your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for locking in. Whether you're listening to this in audio podcast form, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, or whether you're checking us out on the video side, which if you are doing that, there's a good chance that you may be watching us record this live here on a Monday night. I am joined for my weekly visit by my good buddy, recurring guest, longtime friend. Tell him, Bucks, man, what's going on, dude?
Dude, you didn't. How did you get away with me not remembering to put the national championship game on in here?
It's not going on.
I can't believe you. I mean,
I tweeted about that today.
I saw it. It was pretty good. Actually, I got out of the shower and I was like, ooh, 7 notifications. I don't get shit like that. I was at a point where, honest to God, 8 of my last 9 notifications were porn bots.
On Twitter?
Right? Yeah, dude. 100%.
You put up something and it's instantly liked within seconds, literally.
Always disheartening. Would you ask me again?
Just ask you how you're doing.
Oh.
Then talk during the game with you. Usually we, sometimes we watch the games together. Sometimes we do a post-game live immediately after the game together. This being a Sunday night game that wasn't going to end to 11:30, we decided on doing a Monday show, or Monday taping, I should say anyway, Monday night taping like we did last week. Let me give you a stat of the day real quick here before we get going. This involves the Bills and what they did. Not just, yesterday was the culmination, but I've been sitting to do a lot of numbers and fun facts and stats, and this one kind of grabbed me a little bit. Since the NFL began seeding teams for the playoffs all the way back in 1975, the Bills are the only team since 75 to be at or below 500 with 5 or less games remaining and end up the number 2 seed. So what happened over with the Buffalo Bills over the past handful of weeks is something that has not happened in the league in nearly 50 years, man. Does that impress you?
It does impress me, but what a dud of an intro by you and I, right? Like I am as excited for this football team as I've ever been. Couldn't wait to get here, believe it or not. And honestly, we just like
gave you a boring stat right away.
No. You had to go to the stat because I'm here giving you nothing, right? I'm like, how you doing? I go off on a Twitter porn bot, not even a tangent, and then I completely lost what you asked me and stuff like that. I love the stat. All right. I think there's a lot of things about this season, tangible stats that you could look at when you overcome, what the Bills overcame as far as their record was concerned. And that only begins to paint the picture of the turn of this 2023 season, man. It's fucking bananas, man. All right, it's fucking bananas. I don't need all due respect to your stat. I don't need anything to break down, all right, how I feel of the way this season turned. All right, it turned from an absolutely frustrating, aggravating, oh my God, in the prime of his career, we're going to miss the playoffs in a season with Josh Allen, to about as exciting a layout of the AFC playoffs as you could ask for. This is the dopest shit I could have ever imagined happening to this season. And I don't know where to start. I don't know. You want to, you got your thing over there. You got your notes, but
I'm going to go off.
Where do you start? This is.
Let me feed off you. I'm going to feed off you with something.
This is a straight fan episode, man. This is me, and I don't think I've ever really shown this side other than in anger. All right, this is me just going straight fan. For those of you on the video side, you see my whack little get up that I threw together over here to try to.
It is interesting
to try to downplay, Pat's Cliff Clavin beard coming in. I was like, let me get gimmicky too. That actually isn't what I thought. It's just what I landed on when my gimmick didn't really go over that well. But don't let the basic t-shirt, that currently has some moisture drips on it and some lower end stains. It's the only t-shirt that I really thought would, I wanted to sacrifice.
It was expendable.
It was. All right. But the Tone Puck message is loud and clear. We're gonna start with it here on this makeshift t-shirt. We might literally invest in some t-shirts, all right, with the Tone Puck trademark, and just, we're not trying to go Frank Gallagher out there selling them. Maybe it just becomes a promotion for the Talking Buffalo podcaster show. What are we again?
Talking Buffalo, buddy.
There it is.
Listen, there are a couple, and by the way, interesting choice of hat, and I especially like if you look the other way, how you still got the tag on it. Is that like fashion, or
no? That's me possibly looking to bring it back on the way home. I wanted to see how I felt about this.
We've done shows, so you started doing this podcast with me weekly, literally as the Bills season started, and there's 3 episodes that just really stick out to me and symbolize the seesaw that has been this season. And we're going to spend some time today talking, of course, we'll talk more about the game on Sunday night. We'll talk about some things that have really swung this season for the Buffalo Bills over the last month, and we'll get to some other stuff as well. But for me, there's 3 episodes that really stand out that I remember well. Number 1 was the Miami game, the Bills, the first game, week 4. The Bills pounded Miami. And it's because they came out and they played like shit against the Jets. And then they played really good against Washington and the Raiders before that. And you didn't give a shit. You said, I need to see it against a good team, against Miami. And they gave it to you. And I remember that week you talking up Brandon Beane and how good of a job he did building a roster that was superior to Miami. I remember that sticking out to me. Then the very next week, I remember the Jacksonville game, both the pregame show that we did at Imperial Pizza was on a Thursday night, and then the post game after London. And we talked about this potential, being a trap game and the travel and all this and that. Anyway, the Bills go out, they lay a stinker, they get smacked. But more importantly, Matt Milano goes down and he's done. And DaQuan Jones, we thought, was done for the season. And the tone instantly changed because it wasn't just a loss. It was a loss with devastating injuries. So that felt like shit. And then the other game I remember is the New York Giants game. I think it was a Giants game. Yeah, it was a Giants game. They won 14-9, and you were so down on the team that I remember you saying they may or may not be Denver or Tampa. It was Tampa. I'm sorry. It was Tampa. But you were going to bet every single penny that you could muster up that O'Sherry wouldn't find out about and bet on the Bengals that game because you had never been more confident in your life that the Bills were going to get smacked by the Cincinnati Bengals. And maybe the final score didn't indicate that, but Cincinnati thoroughly beat the Bills that game. It was pretty one-sided, if you ask me. I mean, the Bengals were clearly the better team at the time. Anyway, those are the 3 games I remember the most. And then fast forward, of course, to the Philly game, and they lose. In overtime, we watch it together at 6-6, and I'm like, that's a wrap. I thought the season was over. I really did. At that point, you thought it was over earlier. Then you reserved the right to get back on the bandwagon. But that Philly loss, to me, I thought the season was over at that point.
The Philly loss has kind of been a talking point for a lot of people as far as when they thought it was they were toast.
Got commenters talking about how you forget the name of the show. You do that all the time. Anyway.
Well,
stop Ranger Corps.
You gotta understand, I go back like fucking probably not only the number of years, but also the number of ventures that this motherfucker's had and names of them and stuff like that. I couldn't stay up with any of them. I don't remember where I was after Philly, other than to think that running the table was at least possible.
Right.
Okay. Running the table was at least possible. Because they showed terrific glimpses of defense in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And, really good offense actually kind of throughout, you know what I mean? And Josh started to look like, a unicorn, a unicorn again. He really did in that Philly game.
He played great in that Philly game.
Yeah, man. It was really about KC coming out of there, coming out of that game. And
A bye week after
yeah,
Philly.
bye week, then KC. And I felt like that was a coin flip game. And if we found our way on the right side of that coin flip, then crazier shit has happened. I mean, I started to hop back on before the the playoff percentages really started to climb.
I think Dallas for you. I feel like Dallas was your hop on. I'm not sure Kansas City was.
But I remember thinking that they found something against the Jets. All right. When they went to 6-5, the Brady move.
Yeah.
I really felt as though they had found something against the Jets. And even though the Eagles didn't go their way, and I'm super pissed and all these sort of things. I mean, that happened like 5 different times this year. You mentioned some definite tipping points in the games that you mentioned, but in reality, what we were this year was, we were the roller coaster fan, man. You know what I mean? We were not giving it to you, calmly and with measured thoughts. We jumped on and we let our fandom come out,
especially you.
Yeah, sure, but you're there too.
I know what I was too. You were more entertaining. You were more animated for sure. Absolutely, and that's not really an insult. It makes for a fun listen.
I do think,
and I think that's what's different about this show, maybe than some others, is you're going to get that overreaction and that brutal in the moment honesty, as opposed to saying the right thing because you don't want to piss off Bills fans.
If you had the time and energy, well, I don't know, because you probably do have the time and it's just a matter of laziness. But if you could go back through every show that we did, all right, and just pluck some things along the way, all right, some of those highs and some of those lows, you will find a lot. What?
Jen, I like the stash pad. Again, we got to be careful here because most people are listening on the video side. Real quick here, I don't want to throw you off, but I lost a bet with my kid, a weight loss bet. I can't shave for 5 weeks, and this is going into start of week 2, and I'm starting to look absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, go ahead. It is not pretty.
Yeah, you know what though? But the stash is the dominant right now. Like people probably can't see it. You got to kind of get in there to see the whack pattern that's happening on the chin and cheeks and stuff like that.
It's the patches that are going to get terrible.
Yeah. So the stash, actually, I could see where someone would say it looks okay, but it's by the time you're done, you're fucking absolutely looking like Cliff Clavin in that Cheers episode. All right. When his beard was all over the place.
Good.
Anyway, yeah, man. I mean, that's just, that's how I have fun with this team, is by getting angrier than I should and stuff.
And by the way, you talked
about
about clips. I have a bunch. We could have done nothing tonight except say hello to the people and probably played an hour worth of highs and lows clips from this season, and there would be plenty of them. But
you'd be amazed how many of them actually ended up right. All right.
Sure.
Even through the period, the month or whatever, or more, probably maybe 6 week, middle of the season, where they look totally wrong. Like, you go back to the Brandon Beane, building of the team and the depth that it had. And then all of a sudden, as the season plays out, you start to look a little foolish with that, because Hardy's doing nothing. Sherfield's doing nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nothing really special is happening there. And then all of a sudden, when it was needed at the biggest point possible, I get it. All right. It doesn't necessarily, make it a good signing or something like that. But boy, it sure as hell makes cutting that $6 million, quote unquote check to Deontay Hardy or whatever that much more palatable, when he basically, wins a football game for you. The depth that, and you alluded to it also in Taylor Rapp, and I mentioned Sherfield. They were able to compete at a really high level. All right, even after losing some really important pieces. So, things that that we loved when we got excited kind of early at the 3-1 start. And then
can I play your bandwagon clip? I got this one clip I gotta play. It's the only clip for the show. Let me see if I can load it up here. I'm doing this on the fly. I wasn't going to do this, but this was after, I don't remember what game it was after, but it was about you getting back on the bandwagon if you want. This is going back several weeks.
Could have been the Jacksonville loss.
I mean, what a disaster of a day.
Yeah.
What a disaster of a day.
It was a disaster of the day all around. A disaster in this city.
Can I complain about his postseason
You're talking about Kyrie Elam here.
Post-game comments?
Who?
Kyrie Elam.
Go ahead.
Well, I just, he said, and I understand he's probably hurting, man. All right. And I don't poke fun at people's faith. All right. I may not be a man of faith, but you know what I mean? But don't invoke God after you just played a shitty football game. Okay. I mean, God has a plan for you because you just fucking let up 10 receptions for 120 yards. You know who I need to have a fucking plan for, Kyrie Elam? It's not God. It's Brandon Beane. Okay. I'm sorry. It just rubbed me the wrong way. Again, I don't poke fun at anybody's faith. All right. I understand, but don't, I had no use for his post-game comments. Just own up to playing a shitty fucking football game already.
So before we go, I'm going to give you one opportunity to either further cement what you've been saying a lot during this podcast, or maybe walk it back to some extent anyway. And knowing you like I have for well over half your life, you are very, as am I. I think you're a knee-jerk reactor, a bit of a hothead at times. So I sit here and ask you on this podcast, you confidently can sit here and say today that you genuinely feel like the Bills' Super Bowl, legitimate, realistic Super Bowl aspirations came to an end with this loss today?
Yeah, I'm not walking that back.
No
chance.
Not there, man. I'm not there because I believe that Brandon Beane's going to do something. That I will say that's the only thing, because I don't think Matt Milano's replaceable, just like Trey White's not. I need to get to the trade deadline. They're playing 3 chump teams, and I'm pretty sure the trade deadline will be coming up by then too.
Can I reserve the right, though, to jump back on the bandwagon if I want? No, I mean, because nothing. Oh, I mean, you want to talk about getting underneath my skin? It's the people out there that are like, well, if you don't stay with them now. All right, when they don't go jumping back on the bandwagon when they're this or that. Like, I'll jump back on the fucking bandwagon whenever I want. Okay, that's what a childhood of investing in a washed-up Vince Ferragamo, Matt Kofler, and Joe fucking Dufek affords you. Okay, I can jump on and off the bandwagon whenever I feel like it. But right now I'm off. They ain't winning shit.
It's as true today as it ever was, man. All right, because I mean, I'm a living example of it, man. I am back on the bandwagon. I am as excited as any of you. It's not forced excitement or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like faking it or something. I'm as fucking happy as any of you were. If not, I had this conversation with my cousin last night because he's also a Debbie Downer like me. All right. We're probably happier because when we get negative like that, we truly believe that the negative outcome is coming.
Yeah.
So not only are we excited for the positive outcome, but we're surprised, which makes it even more fun. Those of you who had the faith all along, all right, you don't get that element of surprise. You know what I mean? I get the element of surprise and the happiness, and this has probably been one of the greatest 36-hour stretches of my life. I can't stop thinking, all right, about how good things are right now for this football team. As close as the end of the season is, because all it takes is a loss.
Right.
I'm still seeing, like, I'm just not fucking predicting a loss. Like there's no universe under which I don't see the Buffalo Bills football season lasting 2 more weeks. All right. There's just no reality under which I don't see that. They got the best possible matchup you could ever ask for. I'd fucking argue, all right, that being able to play a Steeler team as depleted as this one is actually somewhat, especially at home, advantageous to the bye. All right, because you got some areas that you got to get right into. I know ultimately the bye's better. The rest matters more than anything, but could you have fucking done any better other than rest than the Pittsburgh fucking Steelers? I'm sorry. This fucking lines up so beautifully right now. And there's only one thing that any Buffalo Bill fan who can at least have, the foresight is. I was going to ask you if it's foresight, but the vision. I was going to ask you.
What a great underrated. That was an awesome.
How could you not be thinking about Kansas City here in 2 weeks with Taylor Swift in the fucking house? Yeah. How could we not be thinking and talking about anything else? My God, make this. See, here's Kevin
Hewitt.
Here's Kevin Hewitt. He's going to get all over me.
Audio side, he says Steeler defense will definitely keep.
He's going to get all over me for dismissing his Steelers. And look, I don't rule out anything. I'm a firm believer in any given Sunday in the NFL. Okay. But if the Bills lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, the last thing you're going to be thinking about is, that fucking Tony Puck's guy shouldn't have taken him so lightly. No, we're going to be so devastated as a region, all right, that nobody's going to give a fuck about what I said on a Tuesday. Okay.
Monday.
What?
Monday.
Well, today's Monday. People are hearing it on Tuesday.
That's fair.
See, I finally get it right, and you fucking correct me. Look,
I'm still impressed with your under the breath diss towards me. Like, you're going to ask me you're going to ask me if someone's correct, and you're like, why would I ask him that? That is actually low key, really, really, really solid.
It wasn't fucking, meant to be that egregious. Come on, people. It's a Kansas City. It's a 2-week Kansas City party. Let's fucking go.
We'll circle back to some Steelers in Kansas City talk in a minute. By the way, I kind of appreciate you because I know everybody, again, you watch other podcasts, they're going to say the right things about Pittsburgh and respecting them and this and that. Look, this team lost to the fucking Patriots in Arizona at home back-to-back weeks like 4 or 5 weeks ago. We'll get into the Patriots.
I'll stick my finger in my fucking throat and throw up live on air, all right, if the Bills lose to the fucking Steelers this week.
All right, let's be careful here with this.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying the way the season went.
If you let me do it, I'll do it.
The way the season has went, and this is the craziest thing to me right now. I want to be careful. I feel like we're being too optimistic or too happy. Why are we so happy right now that the Bills are in the playoffs? Because the Bills are in the playoffs. They won the division.
It's not just the playoffs, though. It's not just the playoffs. It's the fucking first round opponent that comes with it, okay? This is a bad playoff team. We all know it. We don't want to say it because we're playing the game or something on Sunday. All right. We lucked into a fucking home field advantage against Mason fucking Rudolph. All right. No TJ Watt. This is a bad fucking football team.
Can I be Debbie Downer, though?
It's the next best thing to a bye, and the potential fucking opponent staring you in the face. All right. Been the nemesis of your era. It's all you should want right now. It's all you should be thinking about.
That is fair. But I will remind you that last year, a 13-3 team had pretty much what should have been a bye against the Miami Dolphins team featuring Skylar Thompson. Is that even his last name, Skylar Thompson? And a bunch of other scrubs. And the Bills had to hold on to win that football game. But let's circle back because I want to go to just this season and why I think we are as happy and as giddy as we are about the Bills winning the division, getting the 2 seed, and even things playing out the way you're talking about here. If we would have talked about this preseason, or we would have had a week 1, bowl predictions for the year episode, and I said to you, or you said to me, the Bills are going to win the AFC East for a 4th straight year, and the Buffalo Bills are going to be the number 2 seed in the AFC, you would have been like, yeah, this makes sense. That's what the expectation should be. But if you go back to the Philly game where they lose in overtime, Philly makes an improbable 59.5-yard field goal in the rain. The Bills only get a field goal on their possession, and Philly comes out and scores, and they're 6-6 with Kansas City and Dallas and at Miami, still on the docket. Man, to be sitting here now, not only just we would have been happy to make the playoffs, 100%. Would have been like, yo, let's just get to the dance. Let's just get to the dance. Fuck, that's how I felt 72 hours ago, to be honest with you. But everything played out perfect. Now the Bills do win the division, and they're the number 2 seed, and they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it works out. But if you kind of rewind and going into the season, this is kind of what we should have expected, right?
Yeah, okay. I mean, if it's if you look at it like that, then it's what you would have expected. But the journey, man, that's why when people base a season as being successful or not on ultimately the way the playoffs go, I don't subscribe to that, because there's just so many. There's the potential for there to be so many ebbs and flows in an NFL season, and I want to enjoy them. Like, this season was
a lot of them.
I don't know whether I fucking had fun this season. I know I'm having stupid fun right now.
Yeah, this
over
is
the
fun.
last few weeks, but I don't know if that cancels out how edgy and aggravated I was after every football game through about the first 12 weeks, man.
This was a stressful season.
So I just, as much as I would want to have the most winnable possible games on a potential path to the Super Bowl, I want what I want. Okay,
I get it.
I want what I want. And for this season that has suddenly turned into a dream,
it's
a fucking dream season. How does that dream not involve, all right, having your nemesis in your place when you didn't think in a million years? By the way, they're here next year in the regular season too now. All right. They're here next year in the regular season too.
This is literally turning into a Bills Chiefs AFC divisional round preview almost at this point right now. Jason left a comment. I want to read this because he's reiterating kind of what we both have said. There was no one who at the start of the year, if you said, okay, at the end of the season, you win the division, 2 seed, face Rudolph in the first round, we all sign up for that. Well, I mean, absolutely we do. We definitely sign up for that. Got a couple other fans there who are very pro Bills and don't like our lack of faith. Well, maybe they're talking about earlier in the season. Well, there were lots of reasons, in fairness to us, to be down, to an extent, to be down on the team. I think you're talking about during early part of the season, like when we played the clip, like this team's done, they ain't winning shit. That's how it felt at the time. Again, this is
I need confirmation. That's what he meant.
That is, I believe so.
All right.
Anyway, we are reacting in real time emotionally to how we feel, and I feel like that's part of the strength of this show and what we will anyway, for better or worse, continue to do. But we're talking about this season, and sure, we're talking about how it's swung and how they went from 6-6 to 11-6 and the 2 seed in the AFC. In your opinion right now, what are maybe one or two, to you anyway, like the biggest factors that swung this season? Like, what were 3 key points to you? I got 3 as well. If you want me to go first, and maybe you could kind of piggyback on them.
I feel like, I have some too, but I feel like I'd be cheating a little bit because I can see your 3. So we'll go 1 for 1. Sure. You give 1. Let me tell you how this will work. You give 1, and then I'll give 1.
Okay.
And then you give, and so on until we get to 3 each.
All right. Well, I'll start. It's with 1 game. To me, the swing point was the Kansas City game. 2017, a victory. Again, you're coming off the bye. You're 6-6. Von Miller gets arrested. Other shit goes down off the field in terms of journalism, which is one of my points. So I don't want to really get much into that right now. But the Bills going to Kansas City, absolute must win. They lose that football game, the season's over. They're 6-7. That's it. Coming off a bye, you lose to Philly, you lose to Kansas City. To me, at that point of it's over. They catch a break. They catch a break. But even if that happens, they still had 1:40 left in the game. So it's not like the Bills were definitely going to lose that game because of that one play. But anyway, And I remember, not to throw shit, I'm gonna throw some shit at you. Fucking throw shit at me all the time.
Word.
You did not give the Bills a lot of credit after that game. You sat there and just
Right,
said the
I
Bills
know.
they
That's true.
just pretty much were lucky. But anyway, to me, that was a swing point, a key point of the season. Just beating Kansas City. I feel like that kind of started the right to ship.
As far as games are concerned, that's would be the number one game. And my takeaways following that game, just my overall vibe following that game was wrong. You know what I mean? It was wrong. I should have been giving him more credit. Not only giving him more credit, but also looking at it from the perspective of we just opened the door a little wider. You know what I mean? And Dallas is when we kicked the door in. I think what always kind of was in the back of our heads, and I go all the way back to the beginning of the season when I didn't give a fuck who won our opener against the Jets, because the Commanders and the Raiders were soon to follow, and I knew we'd get back to 2-1. All right, I think we kind of aim a little bit with this final quarter of the season, right? When we all saw New England and the Chargers sitting there, we were counting our chickens as 2 wins there, even though one, made it pretty scary. All right. So the Kansas City game putting us at 7-6 with a tough Dallas team, but at home. All right. And then the 2, heavy favorite wins coming up. That's when the door started to reopen for us a little bit. So I like using that game as a point of reference. For me, my number one, and I tweeted to you today to look up the stats and stuff like that. They didn't end up being as stark as I thought they would, but don't let the fact that they're similar fool you. One is in 7 games, one is in 10.
Sure.
And that is the rushing of Josh. When they took the reins off of or the chains off of Josh and let him scramble, in sack situations. It's not so much for me about the design runs when they went from Dorsey to Brady. All right. It's when they really, the point at which they, to me anyways, and it coincided with the hiring of Brady. That's around the time where they let Josh just kind of go and be Josh. I felt like the early rushing attempts, whatever they may have been, I don't know. I think a deeper dive into it would prove me a little more right than just the raw numbers do. But Josh was not being an effective runner.
No.
Under Ken Dorsey. And maybe it's because, other things weren't working.
Running was his last resort.
That, Josh's ineffectiveness on the ground, was kind of magnified because other things weren't working too. And then all of a sudden, Brady did get things to start to work, and the Josh running kind of coincided with that. But man, it really felt like when they got up against it, when they got that 5th loss. All right.
Trying to find the numbers as you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just look for the tweet because you tweeted them, right?
I got a lot of tweets.
That's a lot of fucking great, man.
A lot of tweets.
Yo, Josh just got way more effective as a runner in the second half of the season. It seemed like they wanted to keep him fresh in the first half of the year. Maybe the shoulder was bad in the first half of the year. I don't know if the shoulder ever got right, but the Buffalo Bills got to a point this year where they just had to throw all their chips in, man. All right, because they couldn't afford to lose another football game. And when you're in that situation, that's when, you're most inclined to let Josh be Josh. And I saw a team in the second half of the season that played with the confidence, okay, that they had a quarterback that could do that, or coaches that were going to let him do that. I mean, the 3rd and 13, does he ever do that in the first half of this football season?
I don't think so.
Yeah, man. I mean,
no.
What he does on the ground, taking 2nd and 20s and turning him into, the 3rd and 4s. I mean, he is fucking brilliant as a runner. I mean, he's got moves and power as a runner, the likes of which you've never seen. And everybody wants to stop short of that because, he's not necessarily, the most fluid runner that we've ever seen. He's not a Vic or a Lamar Jackson, but the element of fucking power and the way we've never seen that. All right. We've never seen that. And I get not wanting to exactly turn that on full throttle in the first half of a football season. But man, oh man, don't you ever go through an entire one, and certainly not a playoff game, without fucking letting him do that anytime he wants. Is as good a scrambler as this sport has ever seen.
I will say, and I don't disagree with you whatsoever, but what I take issue with, and we've talked about this before, Josh Allen, to me, not running the football in the first half of the season. And I agree with you. The stats aren't dramatically different, although they are different, and they do favor Josh this back half of the year running the football. But what I can't stand is, for all of Ken Dorsey's flaws, I still don't think it was Ken Dorsey's fault that Josh Allen wasn't running the football enough. I think it was a strategic, and we talked about this before, a strategic decision by Sean McDermott to save Josh Allen physically for the back half of the season going into the playoffs, not taking as many hits, not running these tush pushes, because that does take a physical.
Sure,
I would imagine
sure.
that takes a physical toll on
Sure.
him. So running the tush push, having him scramble more, plays that he was not doing in the first half of the season, he's doing in the back half now, I think was a Sean McDermott thing by design to get him going. So I agree with you. I just hate when everyone says, well, as soon as Dorsey left and Brady came, all of a sudden Josh started running. I don't think it's necessarily because Dorsey left and Joe Brady came. I think it's because Sean said, all right, we this is what we got to do, or the season's going to get away from us. Save him for as long as we can, and now we got to unleash this aspect of his game. By the way, our boy Dave Anderson says, what's up, fellas?
I just want you to know right now, as far as how much I agree with you. All right. For those of you on the video side, follow along. I agree with you.
100.
100.
That is a dope hat.
It's real dope.
Oh
shit!
off.
Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like a like a real like a Niagara Fallsy Riverside writing underneath on the brim. No offense to Niagara.
You know what? You're kind of reminding me to let people know too that even if you do subscribe to the audio version of this, you should still check out the video, because we do some things separate from the video. All right. So you said Josh Allen. One more other thing I want to get to in terms of things that swung the season. Never thought I'd be saying this.
Feed me, KC.
I never thought that a journalist could have a profound impact on a football team. And I hate going down this avenue, because anytime you bring it up, there's just going to be legions of Buffalo Bills fanatics that are going to instantly go on the attack with Ty Dunn. And without talking about the article specifically, what I will say is that it was a rallying point for this football team. I don't even think that it's something that you can debate. Bills fans are thanking Ty in a way. A lot of them are still going after him and thinking he's the biggest hack who still stays in mom's basement and, can't get a real job and yada, yada, yada. I've heard fucking all. But anyway, bottom line is what I'm telling you is that article, that series during that time lit a fire under this team. The classic bulletin board material, but instead of coming from another team, it went from a journalist, and they took that report or that series, whatever you want to call it, and they put it on that bulletin board, and they used it as ammunition, as motivation. When they won that first game coming off the bye against Kansas City, it was in the locker room. Brandon Beane literally addressed it. Terry Bagula's in the locker room. That changed this football team. I think it changed Sean McDermott maybe in the way maybe he's communicating with his players rallying behind him. And I think we've seen a more aggressive Sean McDermott in big games. This Miami game, whether it worked or not, Sean McDermott went for fourth downs that in the past, he punts. He outcoached Mike McDaniel, by the way. Mike McDaniel's the one who was punting on 4.5 yards on Sunday night. Not fucking Sean McDermott. That's not the Sean McDermott that we've known. This was a big game and a big moment. And he put the ball in Josh Allen's hands twice on that last drive. Once they converted a 4th down, the other time they got stopped on 4.5 yard. But that's a different Sean McDermott. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think that article played a big role in getting this team on the same page and together. It was perfect for them, bulletin board material in their eyes, and it was effective for them.
All right, minus you taking the prop off my head. I once again agree with you 100% on them using it as a rallying cry. All right.
Yeah.
And it's fun and teams do it all the time. And generally speaking, I don't know that it means a whole hell of a lot. All right. But I'm cool with them using it as one, whatever gets, whatever edge they might be able to get from it. But what I want to go back to is the more
Fox is hungry. Jason Longmire. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm hungry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I get it now. It took a second. You
completely lost your
no, I got it right back. It's coming. It's totally coming. Don't talk to me. Don't bring up. All right. Gutsy decisions by McDermott as if, you're breaking news to this guy. All right. This guy fucking gave it to you 2 weeks ago when asked about the potential benefits of the Tyler Dunn article and what I think I've seen since then. What I say you're going to get, what I say you might be looking at getting. It was very particular. You even like quoted it in a clip. What did I say? What did I say you might get? Big Nut Sean, man.
Big Nut Sean. Big Nut Sean came to Miami.
I think he did, bro. I think look, I ain't trying for like a pat on the back for being right, because I'm definitely wrong more often. And if you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it sticks.
Exactly like my Dawson Knox touchdown prediction that I threw out there to the universe all weekend long. I was like, sooner or later, I got
score on Dawson. Did you?
Yeah.
And that was a good football play, man. Okay, not a lot of guys, all right, have the confidence for that stretch, and not a lot of guys, do you necessarily trust to make that stretch? That was a good football play by Dawson Knox, man. I ain't trying to, look, I mean, we're going to be stuck paying him $9 million. I still think he should go the way of Taysom Hill. And he's overpaid, obviously. Kincaid, great game. Holy shit. We haven't even talked about the game. I don't know what the fuck's the sense, but God, that was fun. I mean, part of why I'm so happy today is because the game itself was super fun. And there's no way we're getting to the game, because if we get to the game, then I'm going to have to
there's two elements.
Piss, smoke, and grab a beer.
Well,
right
on
now.
that game,
right now.
on the video side,
the Miami game's over.
Actually, on the video side, we are taking literally a 3-second break. So if you're watching
on the video side,
we will be literally right back. All right, I am back here with Tone Pucks. We should probably talk at least a little bit about this game, because I mean, it did freaking matter. The defense, dude. This game was about it was about two things. It was about the defense, and it was about unsung heroes stepping up that, we could have did a million pregame shows last week and a million predictions. And I don't think most of the heroes from this game were people that we would have mentioned at all. The Bills defense in the second half, and I still can't quite figure out exactly how they did it, because it wasn't because of sacks. They had a turnover. The Bills had a turnover in the first series for Miami, and then they turned them over, obviously, at the end of the game. But everything in between, it was just good tackling, not getting beat deep, making them be methodical. But in the second half, the Bills defense just flat out fucking dominated this football game. Miami ran 17 plays total in the whole second half across 5 possessions. Each possession lasted 4 plays or fewer. Miami ran for 100 yards in the first half, just 8 in the second on 3 carries. Sean making adjustments was big. Miami's biggest play for the whole game was 25 yards, man. Only 3 plays of over 20 yards. again, Miami's a very dangerous offense. Before we talk about any specific players, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about this defense, but that's the reason why the Buffalo Bills right now, not even just today, you can go back to the Chargers game too, where the offense played like shit and the defense bailed them out. Sean McDermott's defense, maybe going back to that article in the last 6 weeks or whatever you want to call it, but this defense has become good enough that if Josh Allen is killing the Bills on offense, which at times he was, and he's made up for it as well, but even when the offense isn't playing well, is what I'm telling you, is this defense can play against a good football team and find a way to win. And that is precisely what they did on Sunday night.
Sean McDermott's job as the defensive play caller this year has flown under the radar. I mean, like, because the fan base is knowledgeable, obviously we all know that our head coach was, calling the defensive signals, but the credit that probably eluded him at times because of the frustration with the overall record, and Josh's usage. Then the article hits. I mean, there were some people out there that were giving him, credit for overcoming the injuries and stuff like that.
Sure,
but they were drowned out. At the end of the day, they were kind of drowned out by the far more in your face stuff, like the record, all right, and a big fat article that said you kind of suck. All right, what a fucking job as a defensive coordinator this year. Well, I mean, those injuries were massive, man. Injuries were massive.
They were.
And he, God, he just kept that defense from falling apart. And when they weren't getting to the court, and forget about the massive injuries. All right, one of the guys that he thought he would get back to at least eight his pass rush was a fucking absolute non-factor, in Von Miller. Now, he benefited from a strong year from a free agent signing, obviously, but man, he had a lot to overcome, and that defense was nails down the stretch. It was such a good job by McDermott, man. It was such in a year. This is gonna sound crazy because like people were ready to fire him, and I hated his ass for not running Josh, but in a year where there really is no clear coach of the year, all right, the job that guy did manning both those roles in the face of massive injuries and a hit piece, all right, I'd be willing to go as far as to say that Sean McDermott is more deserving of coach of the year honors than Josh Allen is of MVP honors. And it's because of the defensive coordinator calls. He was so good on that side of the ball. No voters is gonna look at that, right? Voters are gonna strictly go off the head coach, duties and stuff like that. And it's look, it ain't gonna be Sean McDermott's year for coach of the year.
Stefanski or
but
Ryan.
Find me a fucking coach who did a better job this year, okay?
Well,
with the losses, with the losses that he suffered on defense, and it completely ineffective offense, and then the balls to make a big change, all right, on a Super Bowl caliber, roster and, window. I mean, the guy's coming out fucking aces on the other side. I can't help it. I'm not a McDermott guy, but Jesus Christ, he's coming out absolute aces on the other side.
Let me say this. Sean McDermott clean up a mess. Absolutely. Down the stretch, holy shit, was his defense lights out. And he unleashed Josh Allen. In my opinion, he's the one who unleashed Josh Allen. Did a lot of great things, and he got a lot more aggressive. He cleaned up a mess. But here's where I don't agree with you. he created that mess to a large extent as well.
Yes, great point.
Because some of their losses before this, I mean, you go to, what was it? It was the New England game. It was the my mind's drawing up, like the Philly game, the New England game, and another game where the Bills scored a touchdown and took the lead inside of 2 minutes, and the defense blew it. Mac Jones went 75 yards on that defense to win that game. Philly got a score on the last drive, a field goal to send it to overtime. And I know I'm forgetting off the top of my head. The Jets game.
No, you've given enough, and even without the examples, you did a great job. All right, in making the argument against, him getting those sort of honors, and I'm fine with it, man, because I know that argument exists, and
right.
You putting it out there as the mess of his own making was spot on, man. But once that, maybe it's a fucking article, man. I mean, once that shit got,
I know it changed the season.
My man just tightened his whole shit.
It changed the season.
I mean, look, he was calling a pretty good defense throughout
but he was falling apart.
And he kind of blew that. I'm not going to blame him for going with a zero blitz on the Jalen Hurts overtime touchdown run, but he really fucking stunk in the second half of that.
He stunk in the Denver game too at the end.
Stunk in the second.
He ran a jailhouse blitz on 3rd and long when they were out of field goal range in that football game. I guess so. If you're going to live by the sword, die by the sword, I'd rather see that than prevent defenses when you have a lead, because that's the one thing with Leslie Frazier, whether it was him or McDermott making the calls, that I just could not stomach. But
you know what else, though?
The special teams penalty at the end of the game when the game should have been over,
right.
Which, by the way, it took until Miami last night to exercise that demon. I could not get off that Denver game.
Teams.
You
hate you some special, but some. What's his name? Drew Smiley. It's probably not Drew Smiley. Yeah, baby, you know what's in my head. You want to talk about baseball? This is 100 prospects hat, is what it is.
Can we give some love, flowers, shine, whatever you want to call it, to I got 6 guys here, and we're not gonna go through one by one every single little thing they did. The game's gonna be old news by this point, but 6 guys, not counting Josh Allen, not counting Stephon Diggs. If you were to say 6 of the most effective Buffalo Bills in a division winning 2-seed winning victory would be Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, Dane Jackson, Balin Spector, which, by the way, you've had a ton of really good takes on Facebook and Twitter this year. Your Spector take was not one of your better ones.
I'll speak to that.
Dawson Knox and Taylor Rapp. Those 6 guys were absolutely instrumental in this huge victory for the Buffalo Bills. There's 2 guys that I want to talk about specifically, but you got any thoughts when you hear that list and you're like, that's on paper, that's not an impressive list, man, but those guys were freaking huge in this football game.
Look, man, what were we all fearing earlier this year at 6-6? What was the big thing? We're in a Super Bowl window with this quarterback right now, and we fucking blew it for him, whether that's McDermott or Bean, whoever. But at the end of the day, okay, you are naming like pretty good football players, all right? Guys that an investment was made in, all right, to be part of a Super Bowl window open roster. And it's not by accident. You know what I mean? This goes back to Bean. This goes back to me. Fucking, I'm a huge Bean guy. All right. But it's not by accident that upon suffering the injuries that they did in these key spots, there were guys there, all right, who have at least seen a football field in these stakes. As bad as Deontay or as irrelevant, that's what I want, as Deontay Hardy has been at the end of the day, okay, this year, we didn't throw like a 6th round UCF fucking rookie back there to return that punt. All right. We threw a guy we paid like $6 million.
I called for the Bills to bench him, by the way. Horrible take. I wanted Andy Isabella promoted from the practice squad. I said that, I think, against the New England game when he fumbled against the Chargers, actually, it was. Yeah. I said, I've seen enough of Deontay Hardy. And thank God Sean McDermott.
This is why you go out. This is why you go out and you get veterans. You get veteran depth, man. All right. Because, if you're looking to win a Super Bowl and something happens, like a Gabe Davis injury or something like that, less snaps for Steph, although that was definitely a story and a big uptick this week. And what's his name? Chris Norman basically saying, yeah, well, that's Steph taking himself out. A lot to talk about there, but you've got like 14 more shows this week, so I'm sure you'll get to it all. Look, there was depth there that could do the things that it did last night. The surprise for me, Taylor Rapp's another one, man. Taylor Rapp's a guy who, we all saw actually in exactly the role that he's in right now when he first came in, but we didn't go that route because, we kept playing nickel. It was nickel. Rapp wasn't seeing the field. Then all of a sudden, McDermott makes a change to a dime and Rapp's getting run. Look, man, Rapp is a starting safety in this league who took a job to come here as a role player, not on the cheap exactly, and he played a significant role. This fucking roster is built to win a championship, man. We're not putting out chumps. All right. Yeah. In big injury situations. The only guy that I thought we put out there that was a little bit of a chump, all right, was Balen Spector.
Were you a little surprised that they went with him over Dorian Williams?
Yeah, very much.
Which, by the way, I was impressed with Spector.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe after the third Spector play, two of which I felt like were he got sucked in on RPOs and there was like a huge space around the receiver. All right, I was like, this is good. They're going to do this Balen Spector all night.
I said Josh Allen was pathetic by the first quarter was over, so I get it. It was heat of the moment, instant reaction. It was instant reaction from you.
But the reason I bring up Spector is because he's not necessarily the guy that a big resource was invested in case of injury. But you can only do you can only do so much at that linebacker spot when they just drop like flies, Milano and Dotson. What are you going to do? But the depth is incredible. And then even when they could have gotten away, as proven last night, even when they could have gotten away with Benford and Jackson as their corners, it wasn't just about the upgrade of Dane Jackson by adding Rasul Douglas. It was also getting back to the fact that you've got three starting caliber line cornerbacks in the case of an injury. They never stopped adding and building depth on the roster because that's what you fucking do in a Super Bowl window. And they got to look. All of a sudden they got to look that none of us thought they were going to have.
Brandon Beane did a fantastic job this offseason. He had a great offseason. No matter how the playoffs play out, even if they lose to Pittsburgh, now at this point it's the players not performing. Sunday night was indicative of the job that Brandon Beane did, going out and getting yourself a Taylor Rapp, going out and getting yourself a Hardy or Sherfield. And maybe these guys really didn't do shit during the regular season, but they did plenty to win their division in a must-win game. He hit on Kincaid. If Kincaid and Osiris Torrance aren't home runs or triples, they're day one starters. Kincaid.
Can I ask you about a Kincaid thing real quick? Did you not know? Were you able to notice in time on that deep fucking back shoulder kicking Kincaid? Were you able to notice in time that A, that was Kincaid, and B, it wasn't Knox and he was going to catch that shit? That's exactly. I was like, oh shit, that ball's there. That's Kincaid, not Knox, and he's going to catch it. Yeah. And that's the fucking difference between Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
Yeah, and Vic Fangio schemes up a defense to have Melvin Ingram on one-on-one coverage on that play too. Down the sideline, which one? Actually, he had two pretty big catches. One of them he beat Melvin Ingram.
It was that one. It was the back shoulder. It was the back shoulder throw on.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram. See, Melvin Ingram was covering him.
That was
But
a bad
anyway.
one, but I thought Fangio actually had some good calls.
But yeah, man, and then you had Leonard Floyd, 10.5 sacks, and just depth like you talked about. Guys like Poona Ford who haven't done much, but they've still have had roles. Poona Ford played actually.
He blocked the punter.
He did block the punter. So that
without a penalty, that might be the bigger, the bigger good job there.
When Hardy brought that back, I would not celebrate.
Oh, I didn't either. Not until I had to see no flags.
Little yellow.
I had to see no flags. I actually, not that you would have seen it because you were tweeting yourself at a fucking mile a minute. But I had a tweet today of that, that angle that everybody's tweeting out of the low angle and the Buffalo crowd ground up. Trent Sherfield, man. Trent Sherfield just stops in the middle of the field and looks down, looks back and shit. Sherfield definitely was with like one of us, just making sure, man.
I know. And even at the end of the game too, I mean, I was confident to an extent it was an interception, but like,
oh yeah, I didn't
Aaron,
celebrate that interception.
Kayla, we're all in the house. I was like, no. And even though the Bills were coming off the field and high-fiving, I wanted to see a replay with my own eyes. And it wasn't until that point where I was like, all right, he's got the ball, and the game is over, which, by the way, Taylor Rapp played 13 snaps. They ran that dime defense with Poyer, a linebacker, on 13 snaps during this game. Not even just the interception. The play before that, a hell of a pass breakup, man. If Tyreek Hill hauls that in, if he doesn't get hit by Rapp, they got the ball inside the 20. They still got a minute something left. They don't got no timeouts, but that's still an eternity of time. Taylor Rapp was huge, and so was Dane Jackson. I got to mention him out specifically. That tackle he had to come up on, it was on Braxton Berrios.
Fucking beauty.
Stopped him a half yard short. I could not believe. Miami didn't even try to draw the Bills off sides, nothing. McDaniel just called a punt right away. I was blown away and shocked at that. And then that big third down pass breakup too. Dane Jackson.
I'm not sure that he got his hand on that.
He got his hand.
I love his coverage was fantastic, and he definitely influenced the catch. But I wasn't sure that he got his hands on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, he was there.
It was great. He was so good.
He was good. And then,
but I'm not sure that I necessarily want Rasul Douglas to just take Dane Jackson's word for it next time. You see that part?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I got you.
Look, I hear you. I hear you. I think we love Dane too, but if you're fucking healthy,
I don't buy it.
You're going out, bro.
Sean McDermott.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it either.
Sean McDermott kind of said today that he really didn't know anything about that. To me, that was the Bills are in the playoffs. We're not going to risk Rasul Douglas getting hurt any further this game. We want to win.
I didn't think about that aspect of it.
Maybe if the Bills,
I like it.
Do you think the Bills were a little bit looser, by the way, because they knew they were in the playoffs? So you don't really think that
they didn't play looser.
Yeah, they didn't play looser.
They didn't play looser. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how fucking stressful that shit would have been? All right, like the first half ending on the on the goal line like that. Can you imagine the stress of that game if we didn't have our ticket punched already?
My baseball cap took a beating at the various first half Josh Allen mistakes. We'll just call them. Which, by the way, Ty Johnson, that should have been targeting. He got hit fucking helmet to helmet right at the 1 yard line.
I couldn't believe I didn't catch it.
Bob O'Brien wanted to know who backs up Mason Rudolph. It's Kenny Pickett. So anyway, he's healthy. He's not starting.
Be Pickett. The receivers. Let's squeeze this in. Let's squeeze in the Steelers. We can't.
I'll go back to them. I'm not done with the Bills yet.
All right.
Because I want to look back at this season and the fact they finished 11-6, and this is the weird part. And I think most people. We look at the team and we stay within the bubble of this offense or this defense, and we don't really compare it to 31 other teams around the league because you look at the stats. Now the regular season's over. James Cook was 4th in the entire NFL in rushing. Only 3 running backs had more rushing yards than him this season. Doesn't really feel like that to me, though. Doesn't feel like he had like the 4th best rushing season in the NFL. Stephon Diggs, who it felt like, he had 7 catches on Sunday night, but, a lot of non-productive games in the back half of the year. He still finished 7th in the NFL in receptions. Dalton Kincaid smashing Bills tight end, not just rookie, but Bills tight end receptions. And he had the 10th most catches by a tight end and by a rookie in NFL history. Didn't really feel that way. It didn't feel like a great statistic, except for Josh Allen's total touchdowns. This just didn't feel like a great statistical season for the Bills. But like I said, Cook is at a top 4 in rushing. Stefan's still in the top 7 in receptions. It's kind of weird with these stats this year. Oh, maybe it's just me, though. It just never felt like James Cook was one of the best running backs in the NFL.
It doesn't take much, all right, to elevate into that top 10 these days of rushers because of the way that teams spread the ball. And that's to take nothing away from James Cook. You have a big ass game like Dallas, all right, and a couple other where you push the century mark. You're deserving of some accolades, all right, but ultimately it doesn't take much to get to where he got, especially when there's so much diversity in running back usage and stuff like that. So, and Steph, is kind of he was flying out of the gate, closed strong with receptions against Miami and stuff like that. But
Josh missed him long.
He didn't really do game breaking shit. And like you just mentioned, not always his fault.
Right.
These stats, though, I mean, honestly, they're an offense that's just very good. Even when they sucked, all right, they were actually still probably kind of.
That's what
good.
I'm saying. You compare it to the rest of the league instead of our standards for this team only. They were.
But
actually
I didn't find
really
any
good.
of it to be overly impressive. Like
Right.
here, I would say, all right, what do you make of the James Cook stats? Well, I would say James Cook has emerged. All right, James Cook has emerged as a guy who's absolutely going to see, all right, all 4 years of his contract. I don't know that he's going to see beyond that.
But as we get into the playoffs, I think he might have a shorter leash than Bills fans want to think. He's the 4th in the NFL in rushing, drops passes. He dropped a touchdown against Sunday too, and that's his 3rd touchdown drop of the back half of this season. And he's played very well for a lot of these stretches. But you kind of get this feeling that Sean doesn't fully trust him. Like he won't hesitate if Ty Johnson's healthy or if Leonard Fournette will be in the lineup, regardless of Ty Johnson, I think, going forward. But I think the leash might be a little bit short here with James Cook, even though he has emerged. Just like Khalil Shakir has emerged, by the way.
I don't know that I would call it a short leash with Cook.
Maybe not that short, but
I just think there were a couple weeks, okay, before I think maybe Brady kind of found Ty Johnson, and certainly before Fournette started to see the field, there were a couple weeks where I think Cook's snap share was somewhere, up around 70 or over. Okay. I think that is going to come down to around 50. Okay. Especially if playoff Lenny's around. Now that doesn't
playoff Lenny now. No more in
the hunt Lenny. Can you remember in the hunt Lenny? I mean, what a fucking roller coaster, bro. What a bananas regular season.
Yeah.
What a bananas.
Tell what's calling season. For people who are like, what the hell are you talking about? Earlier, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, the Bills, he wasn't playoff Lenny because that's what his nickname is. He was in the hunt Lenny. That's what you I
was very proud about that. Look, he looks fresh. He's out there banging a little bit. I'm not sure that he's quite the pass protector that Murray is, but if Johnson, that's going to be interesting. All right, even with a healthy Ty Johnson, I think with a healthy Ty Johnson, he sees the field. But
I think Murray's done if all 3 running backs are healthy.
You think it's just that clear cut. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I want to name drop a couple players on that punt return because again, you look at the punt return and you go nuts and everyone's excited. 3 punt returns don't happen or kick returns don't happen with a couple key blocks. So I just want to single out Saron Neal had a really good seal block. Quentin Morris had a really, really good seal block. And it was Puna Ford of all people that got out and got contact with the punter. Last thing I want to talk about with this game going into the playoffs here quickly. Von Miller plays 15 snaps. And I put out a tweet saying he did shit. I'm done with him. He had a chance. I get why the Bills went back to him because if he's going to give you anything, it was going to be this game. And I said he didn't do anything, but I was kind of wrong about that a little bit, Tone. Second last play, the one where Rapp knocked the ball down for Hill, Von Miller had a pretty nice pass rush. And that's my point. The last 3 defensive snaps for the Bills, Von Miller was on the field. They went Floyd and Miller with the edge, kicked Rizzo in with Ed Oliver. That was your four-man. What that tells me is Von Miller's going to be active. Von Miller's playing in the playoffs. They're not making him inactive. If they have enough faith in him to have him on the field in a one-score game, and when Miami's got the ball at the end of the game, that instead of AJ Epinesa or Shaq Lawson, that tells me Von Miller's going to be active for the playoffs. Whether he does something, how much he plays, who the hell knows? But he's going to be active, I think, based on that.
Yes, and here's hoping he has an effective 15 snaps.
Yeah.
I got nothing. What I mean?
I hear
it's
you.
Like it's like whatever, man. He's my guess is the Epinesa injury is impacting him. All right. They probably do that Rousseau inside kick and dime. I don't know that it's necessarily has to be packaged with the with the Taylor Rapp coming on for Balin Spector move. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know that it necessarily has to align with the back seven dime package. But my guess is, it's probably the dime look.
Yeah, it's just it's a sign to me that they're not done with him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I agree with you, though. I don't expect much from him, but who knows? Like I said, that second last play of the game, he got one arm on the tackle and he was stunning inside, and he was getting towards Tua when Tua threw. By the way, Tua, if I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, I'm not looking to give that guy huge money, man. He's okay.
I'd have a hard time giving him that.
He's
contract,
okay.
man.
He's got Tyreek Hill. I mean, and that's great. But he's about timing. You disrupted it all. You take away some of that middle of the field, which McDermott did a lot better job in the second half, and he just does not have that sideline arm strength. Anyway, all right, enough about Miami. So the Bills are playing Pittsburgh, and I agreed with you what you said at the top. This could not have worked out any better. The Bills playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. No TJ Watt. Mason Rudolph's the quarterback. I mean, they got two really good running backs. They do have
and receivers.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are good. So they got weapons, but I don't think they got the quarterback. And TJ Watt, dude, he's got 19 sacks this year. He was he will be the NFL defensive end or player of the year. No question about it. So, God, it can't work out any better. And Pittsburgh did win 3 in a row down the stretch, but they also lost at home, like I said, to Arizona and New England in back-to-back weeks. I'll talk about Pittsburgh more throughout the week, obviously, and I'm sure Anthony Marino will have a much more grounded, I don't want to say pessimistic, a guarded, optimistic view than you and I do. As far as we're concerned, this is as close to a bye as you're going to get. And I know there's a lot of people out there watching and listening who don't like that, but that's definitely how Tone and I feel. Anyway, you got the shirt on. If you're watching or if you're listening to this, you wouldn't know, but Tone has a shirt on that says "Feed Me KC."
I don't like the fucking look you just made when you said "Feed Me KC."
Well,
like it was smirky, like my slogan sucks or something. It was a condescending look when you said it. I want you to redo the whole segment.
I'm not going to redo the whole segment.
I want you to redo the whole segment and put some fucking respect on my name.
I don't share that same enthusiasm for playing you, but here's what I will tell you. I don't have the clip, but I mentioned it earlier. You talked weeks and weeks ago before the Bengals game how you were going to rustle up every penny you could get.
Yeah.
And bet the Bengals. If I were a gambler, and I'm not, but if I were, I would do the same thing. I would rustle up every single penny I could get, and I would bet the Chiefs on Saturday night.
You're probably gonna have to lay fucking more than a score. I haven't even looked, but you're probably gonna have to lay more than a score. And let's remember, this is
7.5 max. Anyway, dude, Miami is shell shocked. They were decimated with injuries coming into the Buffalo game, and they just took a beating. Their backup, their depth guys, 2 defensive ends go down. Their linebacker goes down. Mostert and Waddle, they're optimistic that they might play, but they're not going to be 100%.
Bro, it's only 3.5.
Telling you, man.
It's only
a lock of the year. It's a lock of the year.
Regardless of, I know you're not a big gambler, but if you love
Casey, like you just said, you thought that shit was going to be at least a touchdown.
It should be. By the way, Xavier Howard's already
Then
ruled out.
bet that shit.
If there's ever going to be,
I mean, it's just you owe it to your fucking,
I don't gamble, bro.
You owe it to like,
no, I don't gamble.
Your future
what? Future what?
I was going with like your estate. You know what I mean? Like you owe it to like your future generations. That's what I wanted there.
Right, well,
you owe it to your future.
I'm not going to, but if I were, that what I'm telling you,
you may talk me into it.
That game's a lock.
But I don't know. I mean, Tyreek's gonna go off, and
Kansas City's winning that football game, dude. Miami's going to a 10 short week.
Played some bad football.
I don't care. 10 week or short week.
That's
they're going
right. It is a short week.
10 degree. Oh, does 10 degree weather not matter for the Miami Dolphins?
It is a short week. Is it a Saturday too?
It's a Saturday night.
Oh
game,
my
man.
God! Miami's going. That may be the best point that you've made. Maybe this entire year. Miami's going from a Sunday nighter into a Saturday.
Yes, in 10 and it's, the weather forecast calls for 10 degrees. And again, it would take an extra podcast.
I'd be pissed if I were Miami.
It would take
that's some bullshit.
It would take an entire podcast just to run down all the
played it.
You are not going to let me finish the sentence, are you? that's the name of the game.
I didn't even know you were talking. I didn't even know you were talking, bro.
You have tuned me out. We're at the part of the podcast where Tone Bucks management will just be so
Let's talk about the Sabres lines. Big fucking 6 games coming up, though. Listen, all I'm saying is if we can roll into Sunday with a couple Sabre wins along the way, that shit would be cool.
I feel like
that shit would be cool.
The last 10 minutes, I feel like I've done a podcast with Scully. I just can't get a line off right now. I don't share your enthusiasm for playing the Chiefs next week. I just want to put that out there. If I had a choice, so you're
what?
Let me ask you a question.
I'd give it to me. I know exactly what you're going to ask. I can't wait to answer it.
So what you're telling me is you're rooting for the Chiefs than
openly
Miami. Okay, because you would rather play the Chiefs than either Houston or Cleveland at home. Because before you answer, for the people out there who are like, what the hell are you guys arguing about? So it's clear, on the assumption that the Bills handle the Steelers on Sunday afternoon. If the Chiefs beat the Dolphins, the Bills are playing the Chiefs. If the Dolphins beat the Chiefs, the Bills are playing the winner of Cleveland at Houston. And you're telling me you'd rather play Kansas City than either Houston or Cleveland.
And I want to make it clear, okay? It's not because, all right, there are people out there that, like I saw today, I saw going into the Miami game, like people wanted it to be
Miami. I hope
Miami.
Scully's not watching this
podcast.
better. Go ahead, man. My bad.
It's fine. I understand and I accept the fact. I am totally willing to accept the fact that of all the remaining teams other than Baltimore that we could host in the semifinal, all right. I think we would be the least favored against Kansas City. I think they are the tougher.
Sure.
I think they are the tougher of all the teams.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, man, and this is where I'm a little different, guys. All right. And I like to think come across as this way, even though I am a Bills fanatic. Okay. I still find a way to just incorporate my own personal pleasures. Okay, whether it be the week leading up to a game or walking into the stadium for a game or something like that, I still find a way to kind of put those over, like, the parade. I just do.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love a parade as much as anybody, and if we get there by beating fucking bums, and I could have 3 Mason Rudolphs, great. But how fucking fun is that, man?
It's fun.
I get it. I get it, man. A parade is fun and all those things. But boy, man, I'm sorry. You cannot set this shit up any better than the fucking team that has ripped our hearts out. All right.
That's fair.
The way they have, and to have them in your fucking house, man. And I'm sorry. I'm going to add in the superstar fucking megastar girlfriend all right, showing up in a suite in Orchard Park. I want all that smoke. I want all that smoke. I can't imagine wanting to be like, I understand you want the pinnacle, you want the prize, you want that fucking Super Bowl trophy, but fuck you. I don't want to walk into that stadium in 2 weeks and be like, oh man, I bet you fucking Sean McDermott.
The
really
Joe Flacco story.
No, we'll get to Flacco. We'll get to Flacco in the AFC Championship. But I'm not going to be like, oh man, McDermott just, he kills rookie quarterbacks. No, man, I don't want CJ Stroud. I want Patrick Mahomes. I want Andy Reid. I want Travis Kelce. And I want fucking Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes in my house. And I want to fucking bury them. How could you not want anything but that?
And I would add too that this is the year where I don't think Kansas City's offense is going to be any worse than it's been this year, and I don't think it's going to find any magic gear that we haven't seen in 18 games. Although I do think for sure they're going to beat Miami. I mean, to me, that is just a lock. But I still, while I agree with all your sentiments, at the end of the day, I still say that is a 2-time Super Bowl champion, arguably the best player in the NFL on the other side of the field.
Scary as shit. That's what makes it fucking beautiful. Yes, I am not saying that because I think it's a slam dunk win. I'm saying that because it's just a fucking beautiful, beautiful football game. And that's what I want to be at. Not CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. No.
Your friend Kevin, who comments on our show sometimes,
so man, I'm just
I would imagine
dismissing his Steelers right now.
Steelers to diehard Pittsburgh Steeler fans right now. I feel like this is our tie done. This is insult to them. This is our tie done podcast to Pittsburgh Steeler fans. Oh,
fuck off, you guys, and all your fucking championships and shit like that. You fucking played AAA, if that, AA Baltimore team, and still ran the ball every play like you just wanted to get to the end of the game. You fucking suck. That Steeler team sucks. Fucking 10? Fuck out of here. We're going to fucking shit all over that team on Sunday. Fuck off. Feed me, KC.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You don't know this yet, but we're going to be doing shows on Sunday and Monday next week. Sunday and Monday next week, you're going to be in. Post game, and then our Monday kind of reflection episode, which according to you is going to be all about Kansas City. We don't even got nothing to worry about. We don't need to worry about the potential season-ending podcast next week. So, no.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, man, I am an any given Sunday fucking guy. Okay, but at the end of the day, if I have to sit here and eat crow for dismissing the Steelers, I promise you that the taste of crow will be the least of my concerns. I'll be so fucking miserable, and so will everyone else, that no one will care what I said the week before.
All right, well, that is fair. I'm going against you, though. I think Kansas City is going to beat Miami, so it's a moot point, but I would prefer to see actually Miami have an upset victory because I would prefer either.
Really? You want the easier game? You want the easier?
They're not easy. I don't think either game, for what it's worth, I don't think either game is easy. Cleveland is playing amongst the best handful of teams in the NFL for quite a while now, man. They could run the ball.
Yeah, but it's Houston that comes here. But it's Houston that would.
Well, if Houston, I think.
Oh, that's right. If Cleveland beats Houston and Miami wins, then we got to see Flacco right away. Cleveland's a really tough game. And you're saying you'd rather have Cleveland than KC?
Yeah, because one reason: championship pedigree and experience.
Right.
That's the only reason. I don't think the Chiefs are scary. I'm not afraid of the Chiefs. I 100% think if the Bills play the Chiefs, and I'm not even being a homer, I would pick the Bills. Unbiased and objective, but I don't want to play them if I could play the Cleveland Browns or Houston Texans.
I think part of it, though, I think part of it is the experience. I think part of what's driving me is I want to sit in that stadium for that fucking football game. You know what I'm saying? And you don't bring that to the table. You know what I mean? I want to be fucking you. Ain't
Kevin,
getting an apology,
can't wait for the
bro.
apology Monday.
You ain't getting an apology. Yeah, man. I want to be at that stadium for that matchup.
So you won't even try to sell your tickets. You won't even try to sell your tickets to that game because you sell your tickets to all your other shit.
You couldn't listen. The way this is also a factor here. Okay, the way this whole thing played out, I'm able to, and I'm going to end up selling it to family and not making as much. But I have no use for this Pittsburgh game. But you couldn't fucking offer me $1,000 not to be in that stadium for Bills Kansas City. I feed me fucking Kansas City.
All right. On that note, that's going to do it for this episode. I almost feel like, I still got 3 other episodes this week, and I almost feel like if you were the producer of this show, there wouldn't even be
I'd be a great producer of this show, by the way. I would be an excellent producer.
No Bills Steelers preview then?
No, of course, man. Look, man. You got 3 more episodes to talk about the Steelers. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to listen to every one several times.
Well, you can start by listening to tomorrow. Thank you, everybody out there who listened. Thank you, everybody who's watching the video side. People watching live who left comments. Appreciate you all. Be back. Brand new show tomorrow.